Deliberate Airmanship is not just my personal ideas. It's collected from the wisdom of dozens of exceptional military and civilian pilots I've been associated with over my flying career. I have adapted the best attitudes and airmanship that each of these people developed for themselves, flying all sorts of manned and unmanned aircraft. Most commercial UAS operators are often missing these valuable personal associations in their development as a commercial drone pilot. That's why I created the Deliberate Airmanship course offered by my company CANDA, that's C&A, for Cooke Associates, in recognition of where this great wisdom actually comes from. It's those associations. It's a way that anyone can gain those valuable insights and wisdom from the best of the best, because it comes from my associations with these and many other outstanding pilots. Let me introduce you to just some of these associates, so you can appreciate how exceptional these people are, and how valuable their collective wisdom really is. I joined the RCAF in 1969, and I was fortunate to be associated with dozens of exceptional RCAF pilots that you are about to learn from. Here's where it all started. This is Fred McKagan, Chester Glendenning in May 1971. They were both flight instructors of mine throughout my basic jet course in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. This is a photo of the original Snowbirds team, and I flew with them in May '71 during their workup period before their first air show season a few months later. This is a photo I took while flying with Lloyd Waterer, and that's Chester over there in Echelon, right, as Snowbird 2. That was only a few months after receiving my Air Force wings, and it was a totally amazing experience for me as a new graduate, since they had been my instructors only a few months before. Their professionalism and flight discipline was one of my first encounters with the airmanship attitude, and that attitude definitely rubbed off on me. This is the 2019 class of the UAS Test Pilots course that I taught at ITPS, with members of the Lilium Engineering Flight Test Group who attended. They are already flying this amazing prototype European air taxi called the Lilium Jet. It's an autonomous, all-electric VTOL aircraft that will carry 4 passengers up to 350 kilometers, with no pilot on board. Meet Lieutenant Colonel Billy Flynn, an RCAF F-18 pilot who commanded the Balkan Rats. His squadron flew the first Canadian fighters to see aerial combat since World War II over Kosovo, and he himself flew over 35 combat missions. He's had an outstanding 23-year military career, having flown over 5,000 hours flying and testing many high-performance aircraft, including 5th-generation fighters like the F-35 and the Eurofighter Typhoon. He became a senior experimental test pilot for Lockheed Martin and flew much of their F-35 high-speed flight test program. He's a graduate of the U.S. Navy Test Pilot School and also past president of the Society of Experimental Test Pilots. He's now an author and motivational speaker who still acts as an instructor and flight test consultant for ITPS and other flight test organizations. He and I have only talked about this a few times, but he's all in with Deliberate Airmanship and sees its value for drone pilots as well as the latest crop of Canadian F-35 students who have to distill so much more computerized information from their highly integrated displays and data links, yet still maintain exceptional situational awareness. This is Gord Cooper, who I've known since our military days in the mid-90s. He's now a 787 captain with Air Canada based in Toronto. He's been flying long-haul passenger flights globally for over 25 years and has over 30,000 flying hours. Before that, he was a Navy tracker pilot out of Shearwater, Nova Scotia, later moving on to F-5 and F-18 fighters, then eventually going commercial. This is one of the UAS test pilots classes of 2023 at ITPS. They are standing in front of the unique ground-controlled MRPA drone with a safety pilot on board. It's a sophisticated training aid that acts as a surrogate for teaching test pilots and flight test engineers how to test modern military surveillance drones. That's Henry Language on the left with Gustavo Ulloa. Both are UAS instructors at the school. Henry is a pilot and flight test engineer from South Africa, and Gustavo is a Colombian fighter pilot who cross-trained as a military drone pilot and instructor, flying Hermes unmanned reconnaissance drones against drug cartels and revolutionary guerrilla organizations in Colombia. Chase Parker is an accomplished commercial drone pilot from Alberta, and at 23 years old he already exhibits the best attitudes of a professional PIC. He has an amazing background in forest fire management, construction monitoring, and command and control technology for BVLOS missions. He's already flown the Matrice 300 at a 35-kilometer range using a cellular command link. And that was several months before DJI launched their own long-range cellular command and control technology. On the bottom right is an old friend, Dave Rohr. He and I flew tactical helicopters together in 444 Squadron, supporting NATO forces in Germany during the Cold War. But Dave has since flown over 50,000 hours, flying dozens of current and vintage aircraft like the Lancaster bomber. As CEO of the Heritage War Museum in Hamilton, Ontario, his experience and credentials would fill a small library on aviation safety and professionalism here in Canada.